good morning, or rather, almost say good afternoon, everyone. We are back for another week. This is the South Carolina Community Live Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Marek Calhoun. I am the Director of Social and Community Services for South Carolina, with my partner in crime.
Hi, I'm Daniel Myers, MATHD Program Director for CareSouth. Just glad to be back again this morning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we have a another special guest here today on the show, um, Miss Deborah Butler. Um, Miss Butler is a retired RN, but I'm not gonna. I'm look. I'm gonna take a step back,
Okay.
and I'm gonna let her introduce herself. Let her
Oh,
talk about herself. Let
good
us get to
morning.
know her because,
My name is Deborah Butler.
yes,
I
ma'am.
am a retired RN. I also am a breast cancer survivor. I work with the Cancer Alliance. I work with Coleman and American Cancer Society. I do Reach for Recovery with American Cancer Society. I've been a nurse for over 40 years. Kind of like losing track of the numbers because it puts you in a certain dated character category. But the my claim to fame for this one is being a breast cancer survivor. Um, I love to share my story and thoughts that it may help someone else who has a fear of not going to get that mammogram or follow up with their healthcare provider.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to again get you on, and because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we were getting ready to conclude October, and we definitely wanted to get you on. Talking with Mr. Henry Wells last week, he kind of filled us in on some of your story, and I was like, we got to have her on, because this is some
Well,
good information. The
I
information he was able to provide us from a male perspective, talking about prostate cancer, was very, very valuable. So being able to hear um, um, information on breast cancer awareness and some things that we can do around prevention and treatment and support and that type of thing, and also just your story would certainly, I feel, be enlightened to our audience. um, and so we look forward to hearing from you. So
Yes.
okay. I
could you
am
could
a
you start out
fif- 15
talking
year
about?
breast cancer survivor. Um, I think one of the things that I learned from all of this is the importance of early detection. Early detection and prevention saves lives. Um, Getting your mammogram if you're over 40, following up with your physician, knowing your own body, the things we could do for prevention. One of the things that, as a reminder, is aging and being a woman is a factor in getting breast cancer. In the US, like 1 in 8 women are diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm sorry. Breast cancer can be it can be a challenge, but it's also a very interesting journey. I was diagnosed 15 years ago, followed up on a lump that was in the left breast, and ended up with receiving. I had surgery, um, chemo, radiation, and follow up with Herceptin. My breast cancer is what they call HER2 negative, positive for a large amount of estrogen. One of the things when I talk about my story is when you say knowing your own body, those women that have had high amounts of estrogen, we also, like, my skin was so smooth. It looked like I was a teenager again. I thought I was working out, but the lift in my chest was not from working out, but from too much estrogen.
Hmm,
I put my phone down because I'm trying to prevent the feed that's coming.
no problem. We understand.
But one of the things that going through breast cancer, you have to be positive and have positive people around you. Every time we do presentations on breast cancer, there's always someone there that says, well, I felt a lump, but I don't think anything about it. And encouraging people to get your mammograms, like I said, if you're over the age of 40. If there's a strong family history, for example, I was diagnosed right before the age of 51. I have two daughters. It put them at a risk for breast cancer at a younger age. Now, there are things that that provider has to flag on that mammogram because they are doing it earlier than recommended. Um, Women who regularly get screened for breast cancer usually have a 47% lower risk of dying from the disease. Early detection, once again, is one of the major factors in breast cancer detection. And what I always like to say is lose your fear of the white coat syndrome. If you are following through and getting your mammograms, and for those women who may not have the income or the insurance, there are programs available for that. Best
Right.
Chance Network. We encourage people to use their resources. One of the things that I've learned in doing presentations too, besides fear, is just that sometimes the women just don't think they have to follow through because there was no family history. And in my family, we learned since I've been going through this that we did have a family history, but no one talked about it. I
Oh.
had my grandmother's sisters had ovarian cancer, and some other of her sisters had breast cancers, but they didn't want to talk about it and didn't want to do anything about it.
Mm.
And
Mm,
so that in turn caused the loss of life, which it could have been prevented.
Right. Right.
And I think since I've been diagnosed, at least four of my cousins have been diagnosed also.
wow.
Mm. Wow.
Wow. So why do you think that's a taboo subject within certain families, not to talk about it? And
It is, but what I always had to say is not a sexually transmitted disease. So
Right.
sometimes they don't want to talk about it, particularly like my grandmother's generation. She was like, we're not talking about that. So for my younger cousins like I was raised partially in Alabama and partially in Ohio. So it was definitely a difference when I was at my great grandmother's house as opposed to my mom's, who was a nurse and believed in education. So
mhm,
those secrets can end up hurting us in the long run, and the fear of talking about it with your children. Look, my daughters will say, "My please don't ask me about that because I already took care of it." But I'm probably like they tell me I become like a stalker when it's time for their checkups and follow-ups. So because it's important, and some members of our family were not even 30 when they were diagnosed. So that's even more critical to make sure that you know your body once again.
right. And I know my partner here, Daniel. He's also a nurse by trade. He's also over the MAT program, but he's a nurse by trade, and he talks a lot about the white coat syndrome
Hmm.
and not having that fear.
Yeah, and it's also cultural because we feel like if we talk about things like that, then we did something wrong to
Right.
get there, and so it brings a negative. It's a negative connotation that the reason why they got cancer is because God is upset with them or because they did something wrong and now
Yes.
God is punishing them. And we have to understand that our illnesses are part of. I mean, that's a part of life. That's things that we have to deal with. And whenever we
Right.
understand and we are more educated on
Hmm.
expressing
And I
ourselves
had
more.
people ask me, well, what did you do? And this was church members. And I said I kept living. And unfortunately, cancer affects women as they age. And so it had nothing to do with my past or some
Right.
major sin that I committed.
Right, right, right. And so I guess education is the thing that we need to remove that stigma, especially with our Southern generation, Southern, people, because everything. I mean, of course, we're spiritual minded people, but everything doesn't happen because we did something wrong. Some things just happen
Hmm.
because that's the way our bodies are set up, and we have predispositions for it, and we just have to keep checking, stay on top of it, to make sure that we are safe. And I tell people this whenever they bring God into illness. I say, well, he's given us physicians, and that's a gift to them for us to use to benefit us in our health. So we have to take advantage of that situation and stop thinking everything is because you're going to hell or you sin. That's why
Yes.
you sin. So yeah.
So what are you mentioned, you talked about getting mammograms at age 40. What are some questions should a young lady or a lady ask their doctor
It,
once they go to a checkup, their mammogram? What are some good
that's
questions?
that's a recommendation. Let's say someone's under 40.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Um, they found the lump. They still need to get a mammogram, and don't just say, well, they only going to do it from over 40, because that's not true.
Right.
You will have the full exam, the mammogram, if something's found, and then possibly you may need a biopsy to determine if that's cancerous or non-cancerous. But
Right.
don't fear because they say you can only get it over 40. You can get mammograms under 40. It's
Right.
recommended 40 and over.
Right.
Mhm.
Your family history too, Marek, would determine what year, what age group you should have that done. If there's a
Right.
if there's a
And
big
family history, once again, is significant because if there are several women in your family diagnosed under the age of 50, that's information that you need to know as the family member, as well as when you communicate that to your doctor, because that's going to make a difference in how they begin to work you up for your treatment. But they still will need to do the mammograms, so that for insurance they just attach the family history to that information.
right, right,
Mm,
And I only know that because of having to go through it with my daughter.
right,
I have one that's like 36, and um her husband's in the military, but when she found something, she still had to explain to them exactly why I need this mammogram done.
yeah, yeah,
oh
And so
wow.
knowing your family history is critical. And I think the more we get out and educate and tell people what the experience is, it helps. And like October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I wish it was every month. We
yes,
try to, in our church, we do it again in May because that's Mother's Day.
Mhm.
So we try to do reminders. Last year, I was able to convince them to do it in June because that was Survivors Month. So those of us who are healthcare providers, we have began to try to remind them every month, either in our Sunday school class, our YWA meetings. It's just keep getting the information out there.
right. Well, my wife's family, um, she has several family members that has had breast cancer, and so she's very diligent about her mammogram to make sure she stay on top of it because she is predisposed to have breast cancer because it's so prevalent in her family, and so I have to commend her. That's one thing that she stay on top of, and early detection is the key. And so the more often you go and get checked, the more regular you make sure that you do your own self breast exams at home in the shower or somewhere, then the more likely they are to catch it in time, and you won't have to deal with so much catching up with the treatment. So if you are,
It's once again knowing your own body. When
Mhm.
you
right,
see something different or feel something different, that's something you have to follow up on, and encouraging people to to know, especially during these times of COVID, they don't want, people fear going to the hospital, but you still have to follow through.
Yes,
And
that's
that's one of the things that we're seeing too, is saying, oh, I'll wait till this is over. Well, we have no idea when this is going to be over. So in
exactly.
that time that you're waiting, something else could have happened.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I definitely think it's important to have that mammogram. Uh, um, Sometimes you wonder as a man, you don't understand that part of it. I had a little incident, and we don't think about it. There are I've heard stories of men having breast cancer that doesn't
Yes,
get talked about a
it
lot,
is.
Mhm.
but
Men do have breast cancer. And actually, when we did our walk here, there was um, a guy that came who had breast cancer, and he was in treatment. And he explained how he found it. And actually, it was his wife that saw the difference. He said he was taking a shower. They were on a cruise, and he thought maybe he had hit something. And his wife said, "No, that just doesn't look right." And he came home and followed up, because his first thought was, I couldn't possibly have breast cancer or anything. I'm a man. But you can,
yeah,
and you can get breast cancer.
Yes, you can.
yeah,
Yes, you
yeah.
can.
I got
I
the
think
chance to experience.
Matthew Knowles is probably now one of the more prevalent people that
Mm,
have breast cancer. So, he's famous. That helps bring the awareness again.
Beyonce dad. It's Beyonce's dad, right?
Yeah, Beyonce's
Yeah.
father.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, myself, I had that. I guess you want to call it a scare because we didn't really know, and had some pain there, and so my doctor, that's when I found out that males can get breast cancer because he sent me for a mammogram, and I
Hmm.
looked at him like he was crazy when he said that. He
Hmm.
don't want to see you for a mammogram. I'm looking at him like, see me for a what?
Mhm.
A mammogram. I was like, huh? And then that's when he explained to me that yeah, there are cases where men do get breast cancer, and this is the first step in detecting that. And
Hmm.
so I went
It's a
through with it, and it was
healing.
it was an eye opening learning experience.
Hmm.
I I got a really great appreciation for um those checks, mammograms that women get on a, I say regular basis, but when they're supposed to,
When it's
by
actually.
going through that experience, I got a inside glimpse of that process, and it was really interesting. And like I said, it's even more interesting to hear that a man could get breast cancer. Everything checked
Hmm.
out, but that just made me a lot more aware of not only just for myself as a male, but also encouraging the women in my life to make sure that they get their preventive checkups on a regular basis. You find me, I'm reminding my wife anytime for your mammogram. you know,
Mhm.
I
And
ain't
when you
trying to
when you
get you
say
fitness,
that,
but
husband's being
anytime for your mammogram.
proactive. And actually, my husband is the one that found my lump and also pushed me to go get a mammogram, because at the time I was traveling as a nurse, and I was like, "Ah, that's nothing. It's probably, but he was adamant that you need to follow up. And the reason is his first wife had died of breast cancer. So he actually was probably the best support system I had during the cancer treatment, because he could tell me about things that probably would happen that, believe me, as a nurse, I did not know. That was not my specialty. I am emergency room intensive care.
Right.
So that when we're talking to couples, when we're doing education, is that in that moment of intimacy, just remember certain things that you've noticed that weren't there before. Don't be
Right.
afraid to say something about it.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, one of our viewers said that um, my oncologist told me that by the time you can feel a lump in your breast, and it is positive for cancer, that you have had cancer for 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
Um, that's a, and that's real interesting. I never heard that before. So that's very interesting to me that you can have it that long and not even notice. And so
Right.
that's why.
And I think with
Sometimes,
the 3D mammograms, that makes a difference that you're seeing the smaller, what they might call microscopic
yes,
lumps better.
Okay.
Hmm.
yes. Yeah, it's a better view. It gives more slices inside the breast tissue,
Hmm.
so you can go deeper and you can see more. It's more depth, and I think it's more and a more intense visualization of it. So it's very very interesting that we have this kind of technology. And I think I don't know where I heard it from, but I heard something recently that they're going with 4D breast exams as
Oh,
well, so you can get even more in depth with the breast tissue, especially for Black women who have more dense tissue.
yes.
We have Black people have more dense tissue, so this is going to really be beneficial to to our population of people for early detection.
Hmm. Because, and that was one of the, when I first saw the surgeon, um, he said, your breasts are so dense, I can't really see. You're going to have to tell me what's new.
Mhm.
And which I didn't have a problem, but when you're sitting there thinking, why am I here? Because I know they're not going to find anything. But that made the difference was that biopsy and following through on the rest of the exams. And I
Yes,
think one of the things, like I said, during COVID, a lot of women are reluctant to go through that second part and find out, was the biopsy positive, what happened, and the results of your mammograms, or even to go in for a mammogram.
right. Right. So we have no excuses now because we have all the technology that we need. We have a way for early detection. We have some of the greatest treatment out there now for breast cancer. And so people shouldn't be scared to go find out. If you feel something wrong, don't be scared to go find out, because you having that bravery just to go and get a check might save your life, and it might help save the life of some of your loved ones that's coming up, later on. I had the nerve, and I had the nerve to and the heart to go and get myself checked. That's why I'm still here. So if somebody have
Mhm.
that type of testimony, it can help somebody else to go and have theirs done. Because I'm pretty sure right now we got some viewers that's watching that they really scared. They feel something that's not right, but they're scared to go and get it checked because they're scared of what they might hear. And sometimes you need to hear that so you can get it checked. You know, um, I'm pretty sure if it was your car making a noise, or if your car was acting the way it shouldn't, you wouldn't have a hesitation going to get it checked at the mechanic shop. So your body is more a more important vehicle than that car, because it takes care of people. It's a nurturer. It's a disciplinarian. And plus people love you. So go and get yourself checked. I mean, that's what it's about.
Yeah. Early detection is the best prevention,
That's right.
and it can save your life.
That's right. And I think the schedule for mammograms are yearly. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Is there an occasion where mammograms can be done more often than a year?
I would think that would be up to the provider. And once again, you're looking at family history.
Mm,
And the women that I know that have had them more than once a year had something positive on their biopsy.
right. So they have
And
to go and
so
get a
they
follow
were,
up.
they were brought back a little sooner um, than. And like I said, when I had it 15 years ago, I'm still amazed at the amount of the way they do things different. Um, the treatment plan, I think some places, if they have a positive mammogram, it's ultrasound biopsy all in the same day. And so that makes it a lot less, to me, fear in the woman saying, oh my God, what they find, I got to wait 2 more weeks and then get an ultrasound. So the expediency of how they're doing treatment is very different.
Yes.
And breast cancer is not a death sentence. And that's the one thing that I remind women, no matter the stage that has been found, it's not a death sentence. The treatment is better, and there's more knowledge coming every day. we have some of the best treatment centers in the state, and in the country, I would say. Um, and it's just been providers willing to share information also, and that has helped.
Right. Right.
But Deborah, let's talk prevention. What can both men and women do on the prevention side to
Y- you
you
know,
can't stop it, I
the
know.
first thing that we always say is diet and exercise, how important that is. um Once again, early detection, and knowing your body. If you never touch yourself, or you just never notice anything different, it's going to be kind of hard to tell someone, well, how long has that been there? When did you first notice it?
Hmm.
And so we always say, nutrition is important and exercise is important.
What about people who smoke? Um, I know smoking is the leading cause to the majority of cancers that we get. So a person that smoke, are they more susceptible to breast cancer?
Hmm. I'm not sure on that one, but because you would have lung cancer, which I could presume you could have breast cancer from that too. But smoking in itself causes a lot of issues health wise.
Right.
So that's not, even though we're in a tobacco state, we still encourage people not to smoke. And I've had some of my patients tell me I've been smoking since I was younger because I used to be in the tobacco fields.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think my dad told me he started smoking at like 5 years old because there was no law. There was no
Hmm.
laws. There was no bans on smoking back in
Hmm.
the 30s and 40s. People did what they
Hmm.
people did what they did, and children did what they imitated what they saw. And so it's good that we can talk about prostate cancer last week, breast cancer this week, but there should also be we need to have a discussion around smoking cessation, so we can stop that.
Hmm.
We already live in the area that we live in, the South. Our diet is awful, and we have all the risk factors because of where we live.
Right.
Environmental, because of the pesticides and everything for farming.
Hmm.
The pesticides that's in the fish, in the ponds, in the rivers, and just where we live and what we do, our activities, not being as active, exercising, like you said, not being as vigilant with our bodies as we should be,
Right.
and also believing in more superstitions than facts. And so we have to get away from the superstitions, and we have to start thinking more about our health and how it relates to things that we're experiencing, things that we feel, like you said, knowing your body, and then knowing your family history, having these conversations that nobody want to talk about, forcing our older generations to talk to us and say, well, why did my aunt such and such pass? What happened to her? Why did my uncle such and such pass? What happened to him? And having these truths come out can save so many lives. So we need to stop being quiet and start speaking up about our health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You said it all right there. Said it all.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Deborah, we sure thank you for coming on to the show this week. Um,
Mhm.
we were hoping to have you last week, but through some technical difficulties, we weren't able to. So we had to make sure that we
It's
get you
been
back.
my pleasure.
Yes, man, it was our pleasure.
Our pleasure.
It really
Yes.
was. We
And
wanted to
thank
do
you so
that.
much for having me.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And again, as she mentioned, Ms. Deborah is on the board of the South Carolina Cancer Alliance. So if you want to see more information about what we talked about today and other cancers and some initiatives that they're got going on, they're at www.sccancer.org. Again, that's www.sccancer.org. But before we end, Miss Deborah, it we like for our audience to get to know. We heard about your career early on. We know you the OG nurse. Um, you know, you the OG nurse. You've been in this game a long time. But this right here is not about work. We want to know, what does Miss Deborah like to do when she's not working and making people aware of the various cancers that
Oh,
awareness.
My lifelong dream has been to be a bodybuilder. So let me tell you what, with COVID and being unable to go to the gym, I had to make some other decisions. Now, when I say my lifelong dream, it has been, if I get close, I can never stick to the diet. So now it's Ernestine Shepherd is like the oldest bodybuilder, right? So I actually sent her on Facebook a message. She sent me her phone number and said, "Hey, if you need some help." So I told her, "You probably never should have done that." But I like to read, spend time with my grandchildren. Um, I do a lot in the community too. So, and like I said, we do a lot of education, both community, church, and any opportunity. And telling people my story, I have said something to somebody in Walmart who may have just offhand had a comment. And then I just tell them my story and say, hey, go ahead and follow up on that lump.
Yes, ma'am.
But my I gave myself 2 years now. Each year I said it is to finally do that goal of getting in that bodybuilding show. Once COVID passes, and I'm sure eventually it will. But yeah. And I have
Right.
8 grandchildren. Like I said, 3 are here today. And usually Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is, I call it Debbie Daycare and Debbie Virtual School. Um, so, so it like I said, even trying to spot, okay, well, which room can I use? Because one is in each one, or going back and forth between two. So, and healthcare has changed a lot, but
Yes.
it's still the same need for education,
Yes,
Yes.
you
ma'am.
know, and talking to our patients. And like you said earlier, talking to our families.
Yes, ma'am.
That's probably the hardest obstacle in some families.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Well, again, that's wonderful, and thank you again. And as we were talking backstage, we found out you were part of the community health center family,
Mhm.
having working in part of your career at Healthcare Partners. So you know we always love to meet folks that's worked in the community health center world because they get it right. We
Hmm.
understand, that integrated type of medicine like we practice at both of the centers. So you gotta get it. You know what we're talking about. And
Yeah.
again, thank you for being here. This is wonderful information, and hopefully we
And
can,
thank
we
you.
can have you on again and just kind of further this discussion. And thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yes, definitely.
Pleasure meeting you.
All
Yes,
right.
definitely. Definitely.
All
All right.
right. Thanks. You have a great day.
You
Yes,
do this.
ma'am. And thank you, everyone. Again, if you want to reach us here at Care South Carolina, you can reach us at www.caresouth-carolina.com,
Yes.
www.caresouth-carolina.com. You can reach out to us on our Facebook page or Twitter, or you can just, hey, give us a call. Numbers there at the bottom is 1-866-498-0399. All right. Again, this was in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month as we close the month of October. Please make sure that if it's time for your mammogram, you got a history of breast cancer in your family, please get that mammogram. Um, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, as they say.
That's right. And we like to just send a shout out to all of our breast cancer survivors and those that are going through active treatment right now. Our prayers are with you, and we know that you're going to come out fine. So we're just glad, we just glad that you took the time to go and get checked and find it, so that you have opportunity to recover. And hey, you guys are heroes. You guys are heroes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And until next week, we are out.
That's it.
All right.
That's
Care
right.
South Carolina.
That's
Oh,
all it.
before we close, we just wanted to kind of give a shout out to Care South Carolina because we're celebrating our 40th year in business, serving the people in the community, of the PD community in the PD region. So Care South is celebrating our 40th anniversary. So Again, salute to CareSouth. Thank you for everything it has done for the PD region and me personally. Having a landing place after I retired from law enforcement. And I've been here almost be 14 years. This year coming, so it's been an awesome ride.
Yeah, I've been here 5, and it's been awesome for me as well. Um, you know, we keep talking about Care South Carolina Strong, and that's what we are. Care South Carolina Strong. You know,
Absolutely. All right, we're out of here.